Hi guys, Human Central here and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be ranking all the Doctors in another tier list video. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do the Warriors Gate review yet, and so that should be coming out next week hopefully. So yeah, let's get into this one. First off, we have Hartnell, the first Doctor. Yeah, he's mid. Yeah, I might put him in B tier, low B tier. Yeah, quite good. Obviously, first Doctor. He hadn't really got anything to work with. He made the character, so obviously a lot of the fundamentals were him doing it what he does. So there's not really much to comparing off of because he didn't have anyone to compare to. But he's a good Doctor and a good Doctor to start with. Next, we've got Patrick Charlton. Now, Charlton is probably my most controversial Doctor. A lot of people like him. Not as much of a fan of Charlton as some people are. I find him fine, fun, and I like his companions, but I'm not overall just not a fan of his era as much as Hartnell's in comparison within the 60s. He's a fan of Doctor, and in the 3 Doctors and the 5 Doctors and the 2 Doctors, he's very fun, but I don't know, I just never really came around to him as the Doctor. Now John Pertwee, the 3rd Doctor, S tier straight away. Favourite Doctor at the moment. Yeah, he's just amazing. He's a brilliant Doctor, and yeah, I love watching him as the Doctor. Next, you have obviously the most iconic, which is Tom Baker. High tier, really fun Doctor. Like Pertwee has like the James Bond-esque type thing. He's quite kick butt type thing. Tom Baker's got that more use your words tone. He can be serious, he can be funny, but he uses his words not most times to get what he needs to be done, and it's really good. And obviously quite different Doctors, but both really good in their own right. Now Peter Davison, my least favourite classic Doctor. Don't know what it is about Davison, but I think the idea that John Nathan Turner had with him is to go opposite to Tom Baker, so more young, light-hearted, high-spirited type person, and I don't really enjoy the stories that he's in, especially during the earlier stuff. So, aside possibly Earthshock, season 19, and Visitation, though everything else is pretty light-hearted. I mean, even Visitation's pretty light-hearted. Earthshock, obviously, with the death of Adric, a bit more dark. But season 21, with the dark stuff like Resurrection, Caves of Androzani, Warriors of the Deep, I mean, those are more dark stories, which I like him, but obviously then he left, so he didn't really stick around in that darker setting too much. Next, we have Colin. Now, Colin is actually one of my underrated Doctors. I really like Colin. When I said before, Pete Davidson's too light-hearted, too high-spirited, Colin's the opposite. He's like way arrogant, but he does ease up later on, and I think a common mistake with Colin's Doctor, in the show at least, is that he's arrogant for the whole thing. He definitely is arrogant, but he's probably as arrogant as Tennant is. But like, because he's not as bad. But like, Tennant is his final era with the time of Lord Victorious is probably pretty similar to Colin's arrogance. But the fact that Tennant didn't strangle anyone just means that he doesn't get as much attention when it comes to that arrogance, I suppose. But yeah, Colin, really good era. It's quite short, and a lot of people hate on him. But I think there's a couple of stories which people hate on, and then it just like those like 3 stories just kind of become his whole era as it says it's bad, but it's not. Next we have McCoy. Yeah, McCoy's decent. He's very mid for me. I'm not a massive fan of him. I'm not awful. I'm not a hater of him either. Yes, season 24, aside from Time and Rani, underrated. Season 25 is really good, and season 26 again is really good. But I like his manipulativeness, and I like all of that. But I'm just not a fan of some of the things that he goes on to do. Stuff with the morality, like with Tom Baker and Genesis of the Daleks, his morality, and then Sylvester McCoy's Doctor kind of just throws it out the window, which is not much to do with Sylvester McCoy, but I just don't like that manipulativeness, especially of his companions like Ace. Now we have the 8th Doctor. 8th Doctor, I'm not really sure where to put him, honestly. In terms of the movie and The Night of the Doctor, which are the two technically canonically on-screen appearances, I will put him in just above Peter Davison. The movie is fun for what it is. He's probably the best bit of it. Like, if you watch the movie, he's probably the best part of the movie, and for many people he is. But yeah, I mean, Big Finish definitely developed him further, but unfortunately, because he had such a short run, I mean, I'm not, been able to rank him. Now, again, next with canonically, we have the War Doctor. Although introduced in Day of the Doctor, I mean, it's unfair to say John Hurt, is bad because he's not. John Hurt's Doctor's great. But again, Big Finish probably developed him further. But I've not really listened to any of those that he's appeared in, and he's not going to do any more. And so obviously he's not going to reappear. So I can't really say anything about him apart from the Day of the Doctor, and that he's just okay at best. He's probably the weakest out of the three because Tennant and Matt had both played the role for 3 years, and Tennant slipped into it quite seamlessly. Next, we've got Ecclestone. Ecclestone, pretty good Doctor. He's fun. I mean, I like the darker tone, and I think it's good that they established this darker tone early on. And I just enjoy this season a lot. I think if he'd done more seasons, maybe my thing would have dipped, depending on the overall success of the season. But his first season definitely, immortalized him as one of the better runners, like Doctors of the show, mainly because unlike some of the best Doctors like Tom had a couple of dipped seasons where they were a bit not the best, but he had one consistent season. So next we have David Tennant. Used to be my favourite Doctor, David Tennant, but he's moved down quite a lot, mainly because I watched his stuff quite a lot. I mean, I like watching his stuff, but he seems to... I'm not trying to say worse and worse, because it's always good, but I think I've just, maybe with more of the classic Doctors, I've gained more of an appreciation for the classic stuff, and after getting past the, it's just a silly 80s, 60s, 70s, that sci-fi show, you kind of you actually start to see how good the classic ones are. And I think then after you looked at that, you realise that maybe some of Tennant's stuff isn't as good as people say it is. Next, we've got Matt Smith. Matt Smith, just behind John Pertwee in S tier. Amazing Doctor, in my opinion. He's fun. He's just lighthearted. He's what Charlton is, but in my opinion, a lot better. He's kind of lighthearted, high-spirited, funny type stuff like that. Stuff that other Doctors have been, but he does it well, better. And I think that possibly might just be that he grew up the show a bit more, and he's seen how the Doctors play it, and it's made his performance better. But also, he was part of who I watched when I was younger, so that obviously probably has a big bit to play. But in number 12, we have Capaldi, who is in the top 4. Really good Doctor. He is amazing. Series 8, he plays it quite well. Series 9 again plays it quite well. Series 10 plays really well. I think the one thing I will say about Capaldi is in other Doctors such as Matt and John Pertwee and Tom Baker and stuff, what their ideals are and kind of, I do get challenged, but who they stand for and what their personality and all that is pretty consistent. Where I think the one issue I have with Peter Capaldi's is that his like whole character changes between each season. So in season 8, he's quite unpredictable. You don't know if he's going to do this or this, and he's not scary, but he's just like, you wouldn't really want to be around the Series 8 Capaldi because you're not sure what he's going to do. I mean, in one of the episodes, he just leaves Clara to choose this decision. But then in Series 9, he becomes reckless. He makes bad decisions. He does things that you wouldn't expect him to do. And then in Series 10, he becomes almost like Hartnell's character in the later stuff, where he's fun. He's light-hearted, and he enjoys searching the universe. And last, we have, I'm not a fan of Jody Whitaker. I'm not sure. I know a lot of people say, she's not my Doctor, she's a woman, and women shouldn't be the Doctor. And I don't think that's the issue. I think I just don't like her because she's got not particularly great writing. I think there's a lot of stories that are pretty bad for hers, and if someone was going to say which are the worst episodes, and they ranked every episode, a lot of hers will be there, like Battle of Ranso, Kolov, Oven 55. What's the other one that's quite bad? Praxis isn't the best. Araxes in the UK. All of those, they're all pretty bad. And then she's had the reveal of the Timeless Children, which again wasn't really her fault. It was Chris Chibnall's. But I just also don't think that possibly she was right for the role. Most doctors, by their first story and possibly their second story, know what they are. Like Matt, for instance, knew he was quite fun and happy, light-hearted in his first episode. Jody Whitaker still hasn't seemed to found who she is, and she's done 2 seasons and on to a third. So, yeah. But yeah, that's been my ranking. Hopefully, I can go back into more depth, in the future, and we'll look back and see has my opinion changed, because as I said, Tennant was my favourite Doctor for a long time, so things change. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and